here's the thing: if a guy or man really wants to spend time with you or get to know you, he will, right? So it was just I was putting effort into it because not only did I start having feelings for her, I was just very interested in learning her and learning her past, and just seeing how amazing she is. It was just a natural thing for me. I mean, there was no playbook I had. I couldn't call a friend and say, "Hey, bro, how you doing? How do you take
Yeah.
a widow? Hey, bro, you know what I mean?" I couldn't even Google it or Chat GPT, right? It was one of those kind of things that I just learned to be there. And sometimes I'm realizing, and Connie says this a lot when she speaks, there's just ministry in presence.
Hey, hey,
Hey,
welcome
hey.
Hey,
back.
y'all.
Hey,
Welcome back.
season 3
Hey.
trio with your favorite trio.
Trio with your favorite trio.
Season 3, y'all. It's all the way live.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
Amanda,
I'm Sophie.
And I'm Kristin.
and we are your favorite trio. And we are back in effect. We are
Yes.
so excited to be here
Yeah.
for another phenomenal discussion.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
With
yes.
some of our favorite people.
Yes.
They're
Yeah,
always our favorite. I'm sorry, but I'd be like, oh my God, these people are so special.
But they
They're
really
my
are like
favorite.
everybody is so special to us, right?
They
like
are.
They are.
anybody that make a commitment to or what we're doing and support what we're doing, they're definitely they have to be super special. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And super dope if we're bringing them on our podcast.
Absolutely.
You know, like
The
yes.
dopest podcast.
You know, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling right now?
Feel good. I'm
feel
excited
good?
about this conversation today.
Yes,
This'll
yes.
be a good one.
Outside
I
of
know.
them being super special to us, but just to hear their journey.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very curious into his journey as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
I'm
her and
excited.
his. So
Her
it's like
and his.
us two people.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. You want to go
So-
ahead and introduce them?
Sure. So 2 people. So is it a couple?
Is it? It's a it's a couple. Did I give it away? It's a couple.
Oh man, it's actually a remarried couple.
Yeah.
Right? So
Fairly
A
new.
remarried widow.
a remarried widow.
Yeah,
yeah,
That's
yeah.
important to notate.
Yeah.
And none other than our favorites, Connie and Chip.
Yes.
Hi guys.
Hey y'all.
Hi guys.
Welcome, welcome.
We're so glad to have you on today. I mean, thank you
we're
for
so
coming
glad.
on. We look forward to this, the last season, but here we are. God is on time, right?
Yes, yes. So grateful to
but-
have y'all.
How y'all doing?
Good. We're doing good. It's been a busy weekend, busy season, but we're doing really good. Graduation
Good.
season is upon us. A lot of things happening, but we're doing good.
Oh yeah, and congratulations to your
Thank
daughter for graduating.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
it'll be
you.
months by the time we see this.
Yeah.
Actually, by the time the masses see this, but your daughter recently graduated,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's a huge
Thank you. And then
congrats.
Chip's oldest daughter graduates in a week, so we have 2 graduates this year.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Busy,
wow.
busy.
That's
It's very busy.
amazing. Congratulations to
Thank
both of
you.
y'all.
Yeah. So, just a little backstory with Connie and I, we met through social media. Right, it's so amazing how this community comes together.
Yes.
I guess she was a little longer in the journey, right? She saw, I think, something about me. I'll let her talk about that. And she started to follow me, sent me little encouraging words here and there. But as a new widow, you kind of just, take it, say thank you. And I think the most important, I think it was like after a year, right, Connie, that we actually met in person in Atlanta.
Nice.
And there was something about her or I mean, I know she has a ministry because of what she's also the founder of Premature Widows. So she does something special within her, which is a nonprofit that she's doing amazing in helping, the woman there and spearheading that initiative, and I think it's outside. Based in Maryland, but I'm sure as a nonprofit, it's
she helps widows
all over. But
Yeah.
anyway, she said she was coming and she wanted to meet me in person, and we met and we talked and we had such great energy. We connected, and the most memorable moment of that day is, I was just talking to her where I was and how I was feeling, I was probably about a year in, and I think what really just stuck most to me was she just looked at me and said, you're not going to feel this way always. And I was like, I don't know how true that is, because it feels real heavy. And I feel like this is something that I'm going to have to, these intensive feelings, right, and pain is going to be something that I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. And although, she understood that and she didn't really push it on me, or impose anything on me, but she did leave me with that, you're not going to feel like this always. And I hung on to that. That's something that I remember in my hard times. So I don't know if you knew, Connie, that how much those words meant to me, because I did hang on to those words in moments where I did get hit, with grief, out of the blue. We all know how that is. That's like, grief is like the ocean, and and then you just go with it, comes in waves, and you just go with it. But so that's kind of how we met and how we connected. And she had this like an amazing gala for her nonprofit, and that was a beautiful thing, and I hope she still continues to have that.
Gotta have another gala. Can I say, because I feel like, are you done, Sophie?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the first times I talked to you, Soph, I don't know if you remember this, but you had mentioned that you were going to Miss Connie's gala, and you told me about the Premature Widow, and I was like, I think I saw her on social media. And so I started following Connie on the Premature Widow, the nonprofit Premature Widow, which is, what Connie founded. And then when last year, which we've talked about and shared, that we all connected at the SOAR 2024 retreat for widows that we hosted in Orlando last year. And I had been following Premature Widow, and I was like, oh my God, it would be so cool if Connie and maybe even Connie and Chip could come. Because, talking about a widow's retreat, and you talk about all those things, widowhood and love after loss and dating again. I wanted that to be a component. And I was like, oh my God, that would be so cool. But I was like, I just like follow her on social media. I don't know her that well, and I was like, one day, I was trying to amp myself up to be like, one day I'm going to shoot my shot in her DMs and be like, I'm doing this retreat, And I was at an event with my sorority, and I had posted something online about grief or widowhood or whatever I posted. And one of my sorority sisters was like, hey, I didn't want you to think this was weird, but I wanted to give you a heads up that I tagged my cousin in your post. I I mentioned her in the comments or something, and I was like, what post? Who are you talking about? Who's your cousin? And I was like, oh my God, she's like, I'll call her right now. And I was like, what? So I was over the moon. And Connie, I'm sure you remember when she FaceTimed you, Carmen. She FaceTimed and was like, I have someone like one of your widow friends to meet or something. I was like, oh my God. I was literally like,
were
crying,
you starstruck?
Like, I was. I was like, stop crying. Oh my God. And so that's how I, was able to meet and connect with Connie through, social media, and then being able to meet God. I just say, we always say God, divine,
God orchestrated everything,
aligns everything. And then Connie and Chip came to the retreat.
Yes.
And so we all got to meet them at the retreat last June.
Be a year.
The 2024 retreat, because we've already had a phenomenal 2025 retreat. And so thank you and welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome, y'all.
And without further ado, we want to talk about the same things we talked about before at when you came and shared with us what that looks like, love after loss.
Yes.
Dating in widowhood. And we've talked about this before, but being able to actually speak with individuals that have gone through dating
Yeah.
and then taking the next step to remarry and getting the other perspective of the male. Oh my goodness, I'm excited about this.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sure our male listeners are excited about it.
Yeah.
So let's start with y'all and just tell us a little bit about yourselves. And we've shared how we kind of connected with Connie and I think Sophie was at the wedding.
I
Yeah.
was.
Oh shoot.
I was. It was beautiful.
So there's some intimate knowledge there, but share with us about you all, whatever you wish to share. And we'll start with Connie. Share a little bit about you and your widowhood journey, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. So hi there. I am Connie Gilmore-Dizard, and so yeah, this whole dating and love after loss, it's been a journey, right? And so as of this year, my late husband died in 2014, June 2014. So this will be 11 years he's been gone. By the time I actually met Chip, I was probably about 7 years into widowhood. And so, yeah, I had, of course, dated prior, dated people after widowhood. You guys can attest to the fact that, it's a very interesting uh, place to be.
Yeah.
It's a strange bed of water out there. And so, it was very interesting, very interesting. And then, you feel like, because I remember saying, I don't remember dating being like this, you know,
Yeah.
before when I dated, before I got married for the first time and all that. And then, things were just so different. And I realized that not only were things different, I was very different, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I'm not the same person that I was before. And so what I was looking for, or what I thought I was looking for, maybe even in the very beginning, was very different from what I was looking for, say, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I married the first time. So it was very interesting. And then I met a lot of interesting characters. And then, one of the things because it takes somebody very special
Yeah.
to
Oh,
date
yes.
a widow, right?
Yes.
And they just have to have certain characteristics, and they don't necessarily know that they have these characteristics, right? Or what you, or I mean, 'cause how would they know? It's especially in this case, he's never dated a widow before,
Right.
but they just, you just have to come with a certain heart, I think, in order
Yeah.
to be able to embrace the space. And so we actually met, as we were talking about how I met Sophie, and then how ultimately I met the rest, met Allison, and all that. Social media is the plug, apparently, because um, Kip sent him. We talked.
You
We
met
met
him
in my
via social
DM,
media.
and so that's how we met, Instagram. But I was already
Wow.
following him because I was, prior to any of this, before my late husband passed and all that, I was doing events. I was an event planner. I did a lot of events. So I always followed him because he's a photographer. So we had a lot of mutual people that we knew kind of in the industry. And I never really knew him, but I knew his name because, his name was kind of around. He was kind of like a little bit of a big deal or whatever.
Just kind of.
Just kind of.
Just
So,
have it.
okay.
Chip is a
so
big
I,
deal. Let's not get it twisted in that world. Yes. World
so I,
renowned.
so I was following him already, and he had made a post or did something on his story about dreaming big and pursuing your dreams and that type of thing. And I put a heart on it or something or said something, and I think once I did that, I guess once he saw it, he was like, who's that? And then he could tell what happened after that. But yeah, so that's how we initially met. And that was late 2020. It was during COVID. And we were just talking, once we got to know one another, and we just talked and talked. It was a long time before we ever even physically met. And then even when we did, we were both, he was in his car, I was in my car because it was still COVID. So we just rolled down the window and kind of chatted it up in the shopping center.
Oh
So yeah, it was a very interesting dynamic. And then it kind of, that same day actually, we were out we went to Home Goods. He wanted to get something for Christmas decor, so he said. But anyway, so we go into the Home Goods and we're talking and all that. And then when we get back to the car, he's like, yeah, one of my homegirls, she built a house over here in this area. And I was like, really? Where? Because first of all, my development that I was in is the only new development. But I was like, okay, so where is this? And he's like, oh, he pulls up the e-bike and he says her address and it's my street. And I was like, this dude is stalking me. This is a stalk. How does he know where I live? So literally, a friend of his in the photography industry, a young lady, was my neighbor. Like our driveways backed each other. My garage faced her garage.
Wow.
Just no clue. Ironically, he was coming to her house for me. A drive by. He was going to drive by. He had an invitation and everything with the exact same address as mine, except we were neighbors, literally.
Wow.
So
And if you know anything about Maryland, like DC, DMV, it's overpopulated, it's overcrowded some places.
so the fact that
The fact that in the same city, suburban Maryland, in the same street and zip code,
that was wild.
it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, oh wow. So then we, that was all that. So he's like, oh, since I'm going to by her house to drop off a gift, maybe I could stop by. I'm like, so he did. He brought a bottle of wine, little flower and everything. And that's kind of how we started kind of being friends or whatever. But, he said,
Well, I'll tell this.
yeah, you tell what you said when you
Let
came.
him tell his side.
No, when I met Connie, it was very it's a different thing. And it's nothing to do with widowhood. She is how can I say this, Sophie? She's very hard to impress.
Oh,
And she doesn't show her. It's like if you ever play a game of cards, you don't show she has a poker face. I don't play poker, but if I were, she doesn't show her hand, what she has.
gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so she wasn't really, and I say this as humbly as possible, but she was not impressed by me at all. And I just knew I was doing, and she
I
was
love it.
and she knew I was doing things. She knew I was trying things. Like, for instance, when I found out that I was in the same neighborhood and literally down the street. And then just the back in that, just for the fellas, a pro tip, especially during times when you see people during the COVID time. One of I guess my tricks was like, okay, we'd be in the car, but no woman's ever going to refuse Home Goods or Home Shopping thing. There's no woman ever, especially if a man asks her to go out to get out of the car. So I wanted to see, like, we just see like from the head up. I said, I got to see the whole.
See the game take place? These are the games.
I had to, so going to Home Goods and the shopping cart, even though we were social distance and mask on, I could see her whole aura and everything like that. So that was one of the pro tips there. The fellas always invited
That's a
to
good
Home
tip.
Goods, Home Depot, look at paint colors and help her, and stuff like that. Get watches. So when I went over my colleague, my friend's house to drop off a gift, Connie, ironically, was like, I've seen this young lady doing podcasts on the deck and doing other stuff. Ironically, then once I introduced her to Connie, they became fast friends. She came to our wedding too. They're still friends to this day. So it was one of those kind of things that everything kind of aligned. And I was at the point where she wasn't impressed, but I could tell when she told me one thing, and I never forget this, I always say this, Connie, that she said, and Sophie, she said, I'm a wife. And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. I was recently divorced. So I was divorced, and I wasn't really trying to look for a wife at all. And, I'll be honest, I wasn't at all. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I can't remember where you told me that one.
I
She
don't
said,
know.
but here's a key, ladies. She said, I'm a wife. She didn't say, I'm your wife.
And I made that very clear.
So that's the
Yeah.
key. She said, I'm a wife. She said, I'm not your wife.
I may not be your wife, but I am a wife. Meaning, and what I
love
meant
it.
by that was, and that was, I mean, I just kind of, once I got to a place, now it took me a long time to get to that place to be able to really, not settle in any space, right? And just be really upfront, like I'm a wife. And what I meant by that was, I'm not a long-term girlfriend. I'm not here to play a whole
Right.
lot of games. This doesn't mean we can't hang out and have a good time. I'm may or may not be your wife. I probably won't be because that wasn't what I was thinking either.
Right.
But I was just letting him know up front the type of person, the energy I was given.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that I wasn't here just to be, just to, if you're looking for somebody to just keep playing around and whatever, I'm not your girl because
Right.
I'm a wife and
Right.
you in the way of my husband, wherever he
I
may be.
love it. I love it.
And Connie, you were at a place where um, when you told me you're a widow, it never intimidated me. It never, put me off or anything like that. I don't know. It just never did. It was more of things that, okay, let me just respect what she has. And plus, remember, I wasn't in that mindset of long term when I first met you.
Right.
We both weren't.
We weren't.
Nobody,
Neither one. Right, we
this
weren't.
whole love at first sight thing, it was more of a developmental
It definitely was.
kind of thing. But we were open to possibilities because we both, I think Connie more than me, you were tired of just the games and tired of things going around.
Yeah, I
and,
mean,
you know,
and there, to be honest, I was at a place probably by the time I met you that getting married again, I thought, it probably wasn't going to happen.
Oh,
Just
okay.
because I had just gotten to a place, because, once you get past, and this is, so once you get past year 7 or so, right? I got to a place where I was kind of set in my ways anyway,
Right. Right.
um my destiny was going to high school, and I was like, okay, well, once I get her out of high school, if I'm not, I'm just going to do me, you know what I
and
mean?
you have
Like,
two adult children.
and I already have 2 adult children, so I didn't have, it's not like in some instances where they're really small children and you're looking to
Right.
help, raise the family. That's not the space that I was in, and so I had gotten to a place where I was kind of okay with whatever way, the Lord decided to lead me, and I wasn't, I didn't meet Chip and say, oh my God, that's my husband. I never,
Sure.
but I met him and I thought he was a really, really nice person. But again, like any other relationship or person that you meet, full transparency, it came with its stuff too, right? Because
Right.
nobody
Right.
drops out the sky. Like he's amazing, today, but
Right.
we had to get to amazing because he
Of
had,
course.
I had some stuff going on. I had stuff going on. He had stuff going on.
Right.
But the bottom line was he was willing to put in the work, right?
Right.
And he wanted to understand what made me tick. He wanted to understand the widowhood portion, okay, well, what happened? I remember, long conversations, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. He wanted to know about my late husband, what happened, all the things, And what I didn't realize was these weren't just conversations. He was really taking mental notes about things because he was locking in to certain areas, like
Right.
the anniversary of his death and
Right.
wanting to go. And this was early on, like the first anniversary death that came up after I met him, which had only been maybe 6 months. He offered to go with me to the grave, and I was like,
Right.
whoa,
Right.
because nobody had ever asked me that. A,
Yeah.
and
Right.
B, I couldn't at that time even imagine anybody being in that space to even do that, right?
Right.
Um, so it was I was taken aback, but and he had some other things that went on that same day with his family, but he still And I said, no, 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 I'll go. And he was like, no, I want to drive you. It's okay. And I was a little hesitant, but I allowed it. And he was just, he never even left the car. He got out the car, he stood by the car. I went up, did what I typically do, and he just stood back. He never said a thing. When I came back to the car, I was visibly, crying, and, all my emotions were everywhere. He gave me a hug, just, I'm here for you, all of that. And that was it. He didn't try to come over. He didn't look at he
Right.
didn't come. He didn't look at the headstone. He didn't do any of that. He stayed back at the car. He just wanted to be there.
Right.
That there was very telling to me. That
Right.
day told me a lot of things about him that I didn't know, because he wasn't there just for that,
Right.
just to see. Some people just want to see, just want to come, just want to how you want to act. It was never. He stood all the way back and gave me time to process whatever I was doing at that moment, and that made, I'm like, there's something really special about him,
Right.
Yeah.
to have done that.
Right.
And so, that's kind of how I started to see him in a different space. And then even with Premature Widow, he saw, I mean, he was there. He saw, my
Yeah.
phone ringing off the hook and calls.
Yeah.
We're on the phone 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, I got to call you back. Or hold on, this is a widow, or, having to, there's been times where I had to run to the rescue of a widow in distress, where I was with him. We had to leave a place one time, and he drove me, and he was there too to help the young lady and her family, because he was with me. And so he
Right.
began to be intrigued by what I was doing, and he saw
Right.
how I was helping other people, and it just became something that I think he wanted to understand more of, and because
Sure.
of that, he began to study widowhood. Like, he
Okay.
studied
I
it.
think that's really, really important. And that's where I'm like, so where did this, because Chip said initially she was like, oh, I'm a widow. And he's like, okay, whatever. But then there must have been a shift somewhere, or some sort of something that made you want to understand that more and support her more in that space, and even learn more about how to support her. What did that look like for you, Chip? Or how did that shift come, change, adjust, and how did you go about managing that? Because Connie started by saying it takes a special kind of person, and you don't really know that you're that person or that special. And we, or a widow, may not be seeing you as that type of person, but there is a special kind of person that does certain kind of things. And how did you get to a point in space where you wanted to be that person and learn how to be that person? And what did that look like for you?
Well, great question. I feel that when I met Connie, like I said, it was a whole wife thing, and I was gently like, okay, but let me get to know her. You know what I mean? So it was one of those kind of things that I was interested, but then my curiosity sparked more. The more we talked, the more we got to know each other, and then the more time, here's the thing: if a guy or man really wants to spend time with you or get to know you, he will, right? So it was just, I was putting effort into it because not only did I start having feelings for her, I was just very interested in learning her and learning her past, and just seeing how amazing she is. It was just a natural thing for me. I mean, there was no playbook I had. I couldn't call a friend and say, "Hey, bro, how you doing? How you
Yeah.
doing?" Hey, bro, you know what I mean? I couldn't even Google it or Chat GPT. Right? It was one of those kind of things that I just learned to be there. And sometimes I'm realizing, and Connie says this a lot when she speaks, there's just ministry and presence, right? And being there.
Yes.
And I was just there. And when I came, like, that's why I know June 23. Like, I just know on that day, I don't book anything. I know that date. That's the anniversary of our late husband's death. So that date will never be on my calendar for anything but to be there for her as long as I live. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So when I was, because that's her, and anything that's special to her is special to me. If her husband is special to her, he's special to me. You know, her late husband, and I just
Wow.
I really feel that. I get choked up even saying that. Yes, it
Me
is.
Oh,
too.
Sorry.
Oh, that's
he's just so amazing.
I know. I mean, you definitely have the grace for it, right?
Yes.
And didn't know. You had the grace
and
for it and didn't
didn't
know.
know. And I'll say this,
Yeah.
you know, we all have, and I know, you know, if you're praying for, you know, God, because I always say this is a promise kept, right? And so I
oh
believe
yeah.
that, you know, I did at one point pray for certain things that if God, if it was within your will to bless me with marriage again, these are the things. But what I found even in that is that, and I've said this before, God gave me more than I even knew to pray for. Like there were some things I didn't even know to pray for,
Right.
especially as it related to, you know, some of what he just spoke about, and you know, somebody just having the heart for being, because if it concerns me, it concerns him, right? And so there were just certain things about this journey that I did not know to even ask God for, but God knew what I needed, right? And so I'm just really, really, really thankful and grateful for that. And even when um, you know, because some spaces are difficult, right? Because this grief thing, people assume that okay, you know, she had this wonderful, beautiful wedding, and it was published, and it was here, and it was there, and all this, and he's amazing, and so clearly
Yeah.
she's all right. Wrong. Um,
Right.
it's wrong, you know,
Right.
and it's still there. There's still some pain that I mean, I did just this week alone, this last 2 weeks, having to, you know,
Oh, your
watch
daughter
my baby going to
graduating.
prom, and
Yeah.
you know, then graduate, and all of these things, and then she's experiencing these things that she's expressing to me that she's feeling, and so I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a never ending kind of thing, right? And you just got to kind of find your balance between your present and your past, but they don't have to, one doesn't have to override the other, right?
Right. That
If you're in
part.
the right space, because he allows me the space to be, right? So if I say, oh, I'm going to the cemetery, his first question is always going to be, are you okay? Do you need me to come? And I'm like, no, I'm okay, you know, but there are times where I just need that, right? And there are times where she may need that, or I'm just having a moment, you know, I'm just having a
Yeah.
moment because it's part of my life. It's part of who I am. And, you know, I remind people all the time that me loving Chip, me marrying Chip takes nothing away from the love that I had for my late husband,
Absolutely.
or the memories, or the grief that still lived within me. It did not just magically go away on January 14th of 2024 when I became his wife.
Right.
It just didn't. And you know what? When I think about it, I wouldn't want it to, right? I
Of
wouldn't want it to
course.
because
Right.
that part of my life, even the grief, even the pain, you know, it
Yeah.
shaped me to who I am. But it's
Absolutely.
also a strong reminder of the love that I had because I feel very blessed to have had
Absolutely.
that love, and then to be blessed again to have this love. And so I don't take any of it for granted. And
I love
I
it.
don't want to put one away to say that it, you know, for the sake of the other. They both have to be able to coexist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. How did you all manage? Because I heard, you said Chip has children, you have a child, or children.
I have two, yeah, three. We
Yes.
both have three.
Oh boy, did
Aw, the Brady
Love
Bunch. How
Brady.
cute. But how did you manage, in particular, you, Connie, the reintroduction, and then
yeah.
what is that like when now you're getting remarried? I know it sounds like your children are a little bit older, but there still are, their
Yeah.
grieving process and what they're going through, and it's a process for them too. So what did that look like for you all? Or what does it continue to look like for you
Right.
all?
It continue. Right. It's ever evolving, I think. So
Right.
for me, of course, the older children are a little different because you know they are adults and they see things differently, and they've been along on the journey. And I think they kind of, I know for a fact, got to a place where they actually appreciated, you know, somebody that came in like Chip has
Right.
and has taken care of my heart, taken care of me. Um, I don't know that my younger daughter has been able to process it enough to appreciate it for what it is fully. Um, and her grief is a lot different than their grief, right? Because
Right.
and she'll even say, well, they had him until this age. I was only 6 years old, and so there's a lot she missed. But and then of course by the time we got married, she was already almost 17.
Right.
So not
Right.
necessarily, to be honest, looking for a daddy, right?
Right.
And then kind of having to let go of what she's known this past 10 years plus to something new. So it's not been easy, right? And what I had to
Right.
explain, even a blended family, of course, it's not add water and mix. I say this all the time. We joke about it in other terms, but it's not. It takes time. And we have to kind of work at it day to day. I look at it like, so for example, Chip's divorced, me has daughters, and I'm the bonus mom, right? So hi Miss Connie, it's all love, right?
Right.
But they go home to their mother. And
Right.
so I am the bonus. And I always look at it like a bonus is when you're
Right.
at work, you're getting something on top of
Extra.
it's something
Right.
extra, right?
Right.
But for my daughter, it she has to learn and get to the place where she feels like it's a bonus because all she sees is a deficit.
Right. Right. I'm
Yeah.
And
already,
so
there's the gap there. I'm
yes,
behind
that's right.
already. And
Yep.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
That's true.
it's a process that I'm learning more about myself about it every day about it because it's a new space even for me. And just trying to navigate it through, and giving it space to do what it does organically. Because
Right.
if it's me, I wanted to just,
Yeah.
mix it all up and
Mix it
everything's
all.
okay.
It's all good now.
It's all good now. We're just blending it up. But the reality is, it's like a plant, right? A
Yeah.
tree that you plant that could take, how long it takes a tree to grow once you plant it, right? It's just a little bitty thing, and it takes time. Sometimes it takes years for it to mature to what it's going to be.
Right.
So, yeah, that's my thing.
Awesome.
I think it's similar. It's just that when you are coming into a situation, I mean, both new to this, right? So it's a thing that I know. I have to say to myself, it's not about me, and I have to
Yeah.
continue to say about that because it's about the situation that brought it. Because I have to understand that 7 to 10 years, it's just been Connie and her daughter, done everything, put her through, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
everything, and then all of a sudden she gets remarried, dating one time, then gets serious, then gets married, and out of our 6 children, one child's life is totally different. The other five
Right.
are not. So I have to keep on
Gotcha.
understanding that. Sometimes it's hard for me, if I'm being honest,
Right.
and
Right.
it's very hard because I'm just used to, as a man, we are like, especially my personality. I'm the kind of person that I call it GSD, get stuff done, and just okay. I did this, I did that, I did that. Boom, 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 boom. But
Yeah.
I can't do that with this situation. So I'm
Yeah.
learning that it's testing my patience, but it's testing it in a good way, and it's ever evolving. So I think that if anybody is bearing a widow, and especially if your children have to live with you, especially in the teenage years, it's one thing if they're little babies and you can help raise them, but if they're already,
Right.
you know what I mean, especially a man or a woman, it's there. But we've been blessed. Connie, one thing I know about her, one thing we always say together is that we honor each other. Nobody's going to come in between us.
Yeah.
We don't care
Right.
if it's a child, another person, a
Right.
parent, a cousin. We're here, and we're clear about that. And I think as long as
Good.
we have that conversation, we're good. And we have those we call them courageous conversations. Sometimes they're
Oh, I
hard
love
I love
to
that.
that.
do, right? Those are courageous conversations that we have, and we say, you know what, we got this hard talk, and this still hard talks to continue. You understand what I'm saying? But I think that but we're grateful, and I'm grateful for her, especially um, because when you get married, remarried over the age of 40, it's tough. We come with a
Right.
lot. We're tough. We're tough, right? I was married for
And we're
15
set in
plus
our
years.
ways.
Yeah.
It's in our ways.
Yeah, it's
It's in our
tough.
ways.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's
And when I said I didn't want to be married, I meant that. I was
Look at
fine.
Connie look. I saw
I
Connie
was.
look.
I meant that. But here's the
You
thing.
clearly you didn't.
Now, I know clearly. But we were in a space that God has moved, and He has shown us both through trials, right, and through hard times, and through people in our lives, that what love is, and
Yeah.
showed me, especially being divorced, it showed me, okay, if I made this mistake before, I don't want to repeat the same mistakes twice. So
Right.
what can I do to be better? And that is for me is being understanding. One thing Connie always says about me, and that you tell me all the time that you love the intentionality. We should travel. I plan things intentionally for a birthday, for just special holidays, for other things, and she doesn't have to worry about anything. All she has to do is just pack her bag and show up,
I
pretty
love
much,
it.
right? So I just make sure that she knows that intentional. I think with a widow or anybody, but especially widows, we as men have to be intentional about everything. And when it comes to just everything, when we travel, you really just, I mean, I want you, or when we do things, to say, I got this. Because Connie's so used to handling everything. For
Yes.
all those years, it was just her and her children, single mom handling everything. And she had a husband that was handling things like cutting the grass, doing things, taking the
Yeah.
trash
Oh
out.
yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
stop her from doing those types of things. Like I had
Yeah.
to
Oh my
physically stop her
gosh.
because they're on
Yes.
autopilot.
It's autopilot.
You're
It's
right.
autopilot. So I say,
Right.
you have a husband now. I got this. I got
Yeah.
this. I can cut the grass. I can do the trash. I can pay the bills. I can.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, you're
So
right.
yeah, it was one of those kind of things.
But again, it comes from, like I said, you setting your ways, and then as a widow, especially for any length of time, when you've handled all the things, right? And,
Right.
you know, doing all the things for the children, doing all the things for yourself or whatever, it is kind of hard to, um,
Let go and
to
adjust.
relinquish that, right?
Right.
Because it is, and I think it's not necessary, it's not because I don't trust you with it. It's just, it's been my,
Your routine.
been
You're
my
used to
it's
it
my
your way.
routine, and it's
Yeah.
also been a safe place that I've built. Like
You built this
I built this
ecosystem.
thing around me,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how I've moved, and it's been, I've had to learn gradually, still learning in some areas, to let him be the husband. Let him help me. Like he's like, babe, I'm here. Like you don't have to, because
Right.
in my mind, I'm a fixer, right? And I've always been the fixer over this last decade because that's what I've had to do. And
Right.
so sometimes he has to remind me, I'm here. You don't have to fix everything. I can fix this, or I can help you fix this,
Yeah.
Or how can I
or how can I?
lighten your load?
Yeah, he asks me that all the time.
That's a key question for men to ask their wives. How, or your girlfriend, how can I lighten your load? And when a woman, tell me, ladies, if you all hear that from a man, how does that make you all feel? You know?
Melt.
Yeah.
Yes, like amazing.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
asks,
Like, where have you been my whole life? I've been waiting for you.
I didn't learn that. One of my
yeah.
somebody taught me that. So trust me, it didn't come out the blue.
and how we say, I'm not the same person that I was obviously decades ago before this happened, right?
Right.
And I'm a different wife. I'm a different person. I think I'm a different even mother, right? I also feel like even though he hasn't gone through the widow journey, he's been divorced. I'm clear about the fact that my husband that's sitting here with me is not the husband of Pat.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's not the same husband that he was.
No.
Right.
You know, he's a different person. He's a different man. He's very much intentional, very much, um, he's very in tune to me.
Right.
And when something's wrong, or if I'm up in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning, he jumping up like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's on your mind?" Because I get in those moments where I'm processing things on my own again, and or thinking I am, and he's in tune to me, and so he's
Right.
very attentive to that, very much, and he cared very well for my heart,
Yep.
even from the very beginning, even before we got to the place of, really being, um, what you call the word, you said, when we were exclusive, and then before
Exclusive.
that, um, and to get to the point of getting engaged and that type of thing, even from the very beginning. These aren't things he just started now. He was doing
Right.
this leading up to this, making the plans. I'm getting an email or a text, "Oh, we have a reservation here, be ready at 7 o'clock." I was like, "Who is this guy?" But
Who is this guy?
um but he one thing about I will say about Chip, we did counseling as a couple in the relationship before the ring. Um,
That was so key.
that was key.
Oh my
I don't
God.
even think, and if I'm completely honest,
Yeah.
had we not done that,
We
we
would
wouldn't
have
be
been
here.
married. Yeah, we would.
Wow.
I
Nice.
promise you, we wouldn't have got
We
married.
wouldn't be here.
And the reason
That's
we did that,
good.
let me just tell people so they don't think that I'm some saint. Let me just be real. I did that because I almost lost her. I was on a
Wow.
trip in Mexico. I'll never forget where I was, and I called her. I was doing a wedding out in Cabo, and Connie was just like, "I'm done," and I was like, "Oh no, oh no, can't happen."
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
I said, you know what?
yeah,
Yeah, it was,
too much.
it was foolishness. And I
Yeah,
said, I've been
yeah,
through too much. I'm not dealing with
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So you have a
Wow.
wonderful trip and a
Yeah.
wonderful life. And
Oh.
I blocked it on everything. And he was in Mexico trying to call me all over through every angle. You know, no, he was. And the
I need a
minute he
friend's
touched the
phone,
Man.
ground,
please.
the
I,
minute he got back to the
I don't
United
think
States,
Sophie heard this, but
yeah, she probably never heard this story. He didn't even go home. He left the airport and came straight to my door.
I did. I did.
And he's like,
Good.
"No, yeah, he really did." And he's
I
like, "No, I
promise you.
can't." And I'm like, "So
Good.
tell me." I said, "So tell me exactly what are you going to do differently?" That's what I said to him. He's like,
Good.
"We're going to do this, 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 and this." And everything he said, he did. Within 24 hours, we were set up with counseling, and we went through this whole 8-week session. He paid for it. And when I tell, and it wasn't no, oh, this kind of counseling. No, it was the
Just
counselor.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, he was
I found it
on him.
online, and
He was
yeah.
on.
That's
There was
good.
one
Yeah,
day
that's
that he,
amazing.
one day he pinned him to the wall on everything, and I was saying to myself, I said, "Oh yeah, we ain't never coming back to this. Ain't no man gonna do
You're
this
gonna
from
share
another
the counselor
man."
with us.
Yeah, please share
We need that.
that.
We need the counselor information.
Share
Yeah,
that, please,
he
and
Like,
thank
really
yeah,
you.
went
from
full
another
in.
man. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, this is it. Nah. And you know what? He took it on the chin, took his notes, did his homework. Next week he was like, "Oh, we got counseling at 6:30." He kept going. And everything he
Wow.
needed to fix and
I
change,
love
he
it.
did it.
Yeah, that's
And there were
amazing.
things I needed to fix and change that I didn't even realize that a
Yeah.
third party was looking at, saying, "Oh, well, Connie," and that was still part of
Before
what
before engagement,
before
way before
engagement. And that
engagement.
was part of me. He was like, you gotta trust Chip. You gotta let go of some of, you can't be, because you know how we are. We are very
Oh
much,
yeah.
especially because when you lose your spouse and then you become the sole provider, so everything, not only do you take on this role, but you're very territorial, right?
Yep.
About all your things and everything that's surrounding you. We love differently, right? And so um, I was trying, not only was I garnering everything that I had, but my heart, right? I just couldn't, I'm like, okay, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know how to do this, how to open
Yeah.
up fully, right? Fully. Because I can remember sometimes, even in the dating phase early on, he would say, "I can't read you. Like, I just don't know. Like, do you really like me?" We had fun together, we hanging out, but he was like, "I can't read you." I wouldn't let him. I wouldn't let him,
Mm.
Yeah.
and I think for us, it's a level of, it was for me in particular, it was a level of protection that I felt like I needed to give myself
Oh yeah.
because I was just afraid that, if I open up too much or too quickly or, say too much, because I learned a long time ago that sometimes you can, you have these long drawn out conversations with men and you talk to them and you're dating and you give them the playbook and the blueprint, they just gonna play the game that you gave them
Yeah.
because sometimes we give them too much information, right?
Right.
And in this case, we talked a lot, but he learned me a lot. And so that gave him the opportunity to love me and to treat me a lot differently than I had ever been treated in the past. And so that's what helped us to get to this point. And so when he um, made those changes and I could see how, he's like, listen, I'm not losing you. So whatever I have to do, that's what I'm going to do because I'm just not going to let that happen.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And he did it and he didn't just say it. He put the
Right.
action behind the
Yeah.
words and that made all the difference.
Yeah,
That
I
made all
mean,
the
love it.
we
I
can
love it.
respect that,
Yes,
right?
I love
Mistakes
it.
are going to be made, but it's the adjustments after those
Right.
mistakes, and that shows the
Right.
intentionality
Yes.
behind it.
Right.
That's it. That's
But
it.
Love it.
yeah, I guess we're getting ready to wrap up. I think the last thing we do want to ask you, Chip, is as we wrapped up, is what nuggets do you want to give or you want to leave the men that are trying to or had interest in getting to know a widow or date a widow or married a widow even. So we'll leave it with that.
Well, I think that you need somebody, you need another, it doesn't matter. You're not going to have experience with this, right? A lot of us are just new to this. You're just not, right? But you need someone, preferably another man, who is either married or has successfully married, that really, I say, loves you but not impressed by you. And what I mean by that, that can tell you things like one on one that you may not want to hear.
Yep.
And but that's going to help you out. And I think if it wasn't for that, for a group of guys that I invited in my life, because prior to that, I didn't have those type of people in my life. So people always talk about changing your circle, but when you're an adult, you're like, I ain't changing no circle. I had my friends back
Yeah.
and they all, whatever, whatever. But if all your friends are womanizers, your
Yeah.
chances are, I'm just being real. You understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you
Right.
have to invite people in and out of your life that can hold you accountable to say, hey man, how you treating your wife? Hey man, how you treating your girl, your fiance? What's going on? And yeah, guys can run around and say some stuff, but we have to have those hard conversations.
Yeah.
And I have those people in my life now. And I think that is more intentional than ever. And the people that aren't doing that are outside of my life right now, not in the circle. So I would say the guys to just, don't rely on yourself. Rely, it's easy to say, well, just pray and rely on God. You need some help. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I had, and this is just really quick, Connie, I'll tell this story. As a photographer, the guy that was counseling me said, hey, well, your social media, you look like a single man. I had all these pictures of all these women doing all, and other stuff on there. And I guys, oh, it's just my clients, just my clients. I said, I need to change that stuff. You know what I mean? I need to change who I'm around, who I'm with, who I'm traveling
Wow.
with. It's the perception that feeds reality.
Even
How you talk to
business. Even
people. Yeah, but I
yeah.
guys it under, well, I'm just a photographer. You get used to it. And that's what I
Right.
used for years.
Right. Right.
But it
Right.
was really a crutch for my ego
Oh,
that I thought
so
that
good.
was feeding it. And that we all did that in the industry. You understand what I'm saying? There was one time we were at a wedding, I used to shoot weddings. And I remember shooting a wedding. I told you the story, Connie, that almost all the vendors at the lunch, we were all complaining about our marriages around the table. Everybody, from the DJ to the other photographer to the videographer, to even the caterer. And we're in the wedding business and we're all complaining about each other. And I was like, how toxic
Wow.
was that? No one
Yeah.
stood up and said, hey, I may have a tough marriage, but I love the wife. I'm doing.
Right.
Everybody was, and I was around that, and I fed into that. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that. So we have to be
Yep.
intentional who we're
Yeah.
with, what we're feeding into, and what we're feeding ourselves too, and telling
Yep.
our wives, everything and having an open discussion with our wives so she trusts us with her heart.
Yeah.
And once she trusts me with her heart, that's what I knew I had. It wasn't about me spending money on her. It wasn't me doing fancy things for her. Once she can trust me and how I represent her when she's not around. And that's the
Oh
key.
yeah.
When how I represent. So I don't want to be in these streets on myself. Well, I saw your husband, Connie, and he
Right.
was out there doing. No, that's the worst thing in the world. No.
Right.
Uh-uh. How she knows that when I leave her, when she leaves me, I represent us well. And that's
Yeah, I
all.
know that's right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love it. Y'all are
love
amazing.
it.
Like literally, I'm not gonna even lie.
Such a
Chip,
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I
Right.
sent somebody. You had did like when y'all got married, or it was something like a passage on
like a
like
s-
dating a widow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Literally,
Did a
I
story.
sent that. I sent that to my spouse. Like, hey, before like we got whatever, read this.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to know how to date a widow, here it go. Like, so yeah, I mean, it's really something that every like man that's dating a widow should read.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Chip and Connie.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that
The
podcast,
things-
yeah.
Great.
I think it was the five
Five things.
things that
Yes,
I learned.
yes,
Five
yes.
things
That was
with
very
us.
powerful.
Okay,
Yes.
and yeah, I
Yeah.
sent that.
Shocked.
I sent that.
Well, thank
Like,
you
read
guys.
All that, I was like, oh my gosh. Like I couldn't believe that he had even done that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then, I think slide 4 was a picture of my late husband and I that he put in the background.
Yeah.
That was
It was
gorgeous.
just-
Yeah.
It was so
That was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, it went along. It was something.
Yeah. It was
Because again, that was part of the studying.
Yeah.
And just having somebody to. And when we're looking for people to be a part of our life, you want to make sure that they understand how this widowhood thing works. Like you
Yeah.
can be as amazing as you want to be, but it doesn't turn off widowhood because you show up.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so you have to be compassionate in that space for your
Yeah.
person to
Yeah.
give them the opportunity to breathe, to grieve, and to feel all the things that they will still sometimes feel and not be intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that, that was the hardest part, I think, on the dating journey for me prior to meeting Chip.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
people were just, they would they're good enough, they're good for a while. But then if you mention the name too much, or if you
Yeah.
post them on a birthday or death anniversary,
Yeah.
like, I mean, why are you posting it?
Yeah.
You're intimidated by a man that's dead. I mean,
Right,
let's,
Yeah.
let's
I
talk
see
about that.
that.
We're
Let's
not
talk
doing
about
that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, and that's a real thing. And so,
Yeah, for sure.
we just have to be, and I know
Yeah.
you guys know that. I mean, even from, having dating and, being in that dating space that I know is sometimes challenging, but it's a lot. But stand your
It's a
ground,
lot.
love it.
and when it
Stand
doesn't
your
line up to what you want or what you need,
Yeah.
don't settle
Keep it
for
moving.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. I love it.
Thank y'all
Thank
so
you
much.
guys. We love you guys.
I
can't wait to see y'all.
I know. I hope to see y'all soon. Love you.
Love you.
Okay.